is I'll move over and I'll walk along and we'll see if we can find the boathouse. Alright, so I found a wee forest path because we've had so much rain in the last 2-3 days because of the storms. All the loch has risen quite a bit, and all the paths that I use normally they're not passable. So I'm just walking inland a bit to try and walk round the loch, and then I'll try and get closer to the edge, and then we'll see what other compositions we can find. Right, so as I've been walking along the edge of the loch, there's a couple turned up in there pumping up their paddle boards, so you never know. I'm trying to take all my landscape shots to the still water before they jump in the water, but once they're in the water, hopefully we can get some photographs. So let's just see how this works. As I've walked across this stream, what I saw was this wee outlet where the stream flows in to the loch, but it's actually arched by the trees, and I thought it would be quite a mystical looking wee shot. So what I'll do is I'm just going to zoom in and then tilt my camera down. Right, so the green grass that I've got here in front of me is a bit bright for what I'm looking for, but what I've done is I've tightened up the composition, so rather than take a wide shot and you see everything from here, I've zoomed in to the second bend and I've made sure the archway, the trees are in the image. I've turned my camera over to portrait mode because it's a better portrait shot. I'll take that shot and we'll see if that turns out. It'll be quite nice. Because all the colours of the trees are starting to change because of the autumn, the autumnal colours are slowly coming out. And as I look across the other side of the loch, there's some really nice reflections there. So what I'll do is I'll move the camera around and I'll focus in on the other side of the loch. I'll take those images and then I'll share these images with you. So I've walked over, to this wee outlet, and there's quite a drop behind me, so I'm just trying to make sure my camera's steady because I have this really nice view of the boathouse, but there's a little tree in front of it with a little bay. Now this is probably better, and now the sun's coming out. So this is normally better, and images. So this is normally better as a portrait, so I'll do this first. And then what I can do is, if the landscape shot's too wide, and what I mean by that is there's too much space on the right hand side, because my focal point is the boathouse and that tree, because the way that tree is arching, it's actually framing the tree, and then there's a smaller tree below the big tree doing the same arch. And you've got two arches over the boathouse, and it's actually a really nice composition. So what I'll do is I'm going to try and get lower and closer to the edge of the water to see if there's a different viewpoint I can get. Sun is starting to come up behind the hills now, because I'm behind Ben Venue, and then I've got Ben Lomond on my right hand side. But what I'll do is I'll work my way down and let's see what other images we can capture. Ooh. Right, this is going to be really tricky. Oh, that's actually been lucky. Right, so I've came to the edge of the loch, just below where I was standing earlier. Now what I want to try and do is get a low level shot of that tree and the boathouse. Now that's nice. My shutter speed to 1/3 of a second. So I'm now shooting at f10 1/3 of a second ISO 100, and whilst that's nice, it's probably better. Oh, now the sun's lighting up the background. Right, so what I'll do is I'll just hang fire before I change my camera around, because the sun's lighting up the trees behind, and it's really nice. So what I might do now is flip it over to portrait mode, and then what I'll do is I'll get more of the water and the tree in my image. So if I zoom in a little bit more, right, so I need to see if I can adjust my tripod. Right, so if I give that a wee bit more space, just in case I need to crop it out. Now that's really nice. Oh wow, so what I'm actually getting now is a green glow on the water, and because I'm using 1/3 of a second, I'm slowing the shutter speed down quite a wee bit. So what I might do is, it's giving me quite a nice soft effect. Oh, there's the sun now. Oh wow. Right. Oh wow, that's cracking. Right, that's really nice. Right, so I've got 1/4 of a second, so I'm smoothing out the water a bit, not too much. Oh wow. Right, so I'm just going to speed up the shutter speed now, because it's getting very, very bright in the background. In fact, it's getting mega bright. What I'll do is I'll up my f-stop to f14, and I'll slow the shutter speed down to 1/4 of a second. It's really, really nice. It's quite like a painting. So the effect I'm getting on the water now, because I'm using 1/4 of a second, it's slowing the water down a little bit, but the sun is really nice. Right, so I'll take one more shot, and then what we'll do is we'll head round and we'll do a wee recce, and we'll just see what's over this side, because I do know that this end of the loch flows into the water of Chon, and then that water of Chon then flows down into Loch Dhu, the Black Loch. So I'll make my way round and let's see what else we can find. Alright, so I've reached a viewpoint above the boathouse. However, as you can see, it's just a sheer drop. There might be a path, well there's not a path, there'll be a deer path where the deer have trodden that goes round the other side of the hill here, that I could probably follow and try and double back at a lower level, but there's a bit of me thinking there's not really any light on that boathouse, so it's not really going to make a nice image. So what I'll do is I turn round and I adjust the ISO, darken that down a bit. So here we are, we're at the south end of Loch Chon. Loch Chon goes past those trees and up, and at its deepest point it's 75 feet deep. So it's a really interesting Loch Chon, because all the water that comes off the Ben Lomond side hills, also the Ben Venue hills which are up behind me, they feed Loch Chon. Loch Chon then flows down through the Chon water into Loch Dhu. Then Loch Dhu flows into Loch Ard, and Loch Ard is the source of the River Forth. So if you think about it, all these lochs and all these mountains contribute to the water that flows through the River Forth. And this is where it starts. Right, let's see if we can get some shots over here. Right, so what I'm going to do here is turn the camera on first, and then what I'll try and do is find a composition where I can shoot back down the loch. So I want this tree on my right hand side to be in full view. What I've done is I've adjusted my camera to f14. I've got 1/10 of a second and I've got ISO 100. I've put my filter down because it was just saying I was a wee bit overexposed. Now I'm exact exposure. I'll take that shot, and that just could be a nice wide view of the loch. So what I'll do now is I'll zoom in a wee bit further. I'll try and take this tree out, but I won't get it all out because it's there on the left hand side. I'll just adjust my composition just a bit where that tree is a wee bit dark. Put that there. Right, so I'll still keep the same settings, 1/10 of a second, f14 ISO 100. I've zoomed in further, so I've cropped out some of this tree and I've only got that wee tree on the left hand side. I've still got the tree on the right in full focus, in full view, but I'm focusing in on that ridge of trees that you can see in the outlet there, where it kind of splits Loch Chon here at the end. So I'll take that shot and there we have the image. Right, so what I'll do is I will probably head back. I will head back, and then what I'll do is I'll work my way around the loch and I'll head north on the loch. I'm going to ditch my coat because it's, what time is it? It's only 8:30 in the morning, but it was really cold when I arrived, but I'm getting really warm now, so I'll ditch my coat and then we'll get a wee bit lighter and we'll move on, because I don't think it's going to rain now. We just had that spurty rain earlier in the morning. Alright, so we've now got the two kind of kayaks. I think one's a kayak and one's a paddleboard with a dog in it, so let's see if we can grab that shot, because it actually puts some interest in the loch instead of just trees. So we'll take that shot again while they're just floating and relaxing. Oh, that's nice. So I'll keep, as you can see, so I've got a 60th of a second f8. I've had to increase my ISO to 400 just to let a wee bit more light in, because as I use the fast shutter speed, obviously that reduces the light. So let's see where they go. If I can get another couple of shots I will, and then we'll start to move on. I spotted a wee cluster of silver birches, so I'm still got my fast shutter speed because of the light coming into the sun. So I took a wide shot. I'm now going to zoom in to the cluster that caught my eye originally, and I'm going to focus in on there. Now what I might do is reduce my shutter speed, reduce my f-stop to f2.8, because what I want to do is get that foreground blurred, and then my focal point then becomes the trees. So if I darken the background, take that shot, let's see what happens here. So ideally, oh that's nice of me, and it's actually a really nice image. Right, I'll keep moving. Alright, so I'm walking up the road because I can't get access to the outlet past Loch Chon because it's all boggy because of the heightened water. So I'm just walking up the road, and I can hear waterfall noises or water noises. So, oh wow, cool. Oh wow. So across the road, let me turn the camera around, and you can see there's a wee waterfall. So, why don't we have a wee breather here? I'll walk into the woods and we'll see if we can get some compositions with the waterfalls. Alright, so this is absolutely beautiful. There's a wee breeze just kicked up, so those ferns are moving in front of me. So what I'll do first off though, I want to get the water right. So I'm going to set my f-stop to f11, ISO 100, and I'm going to slow down my shutter speed to 1 second, because it's quite dark in here. I've got the filters on, and I'm just checking the water because I want to make sure the water's the way I like it. And oh, that's really nice. I'm just checking the ferns, so there is movement in the ferns. However, I don't think the way that the ferns are positioned, I don't think I'll be able to merge them in now. And I'm going to get a wider angle shot, but what I'm trying to do is, the way I've came this side of the burn because the water's sweeping down from the right to the left and down that way, whereas if I was on that side it would be the wrong way around. So what I've done is I've focused in on the water up in the top left. That then allows the water to flow down. I've got the fern immediately in front of me, and then I've got the outlets of the two waters here on the bottom right hand side, but I've got enough space at the top so the water's coming down. So there's an interesting log in front of me now, and that's a nice looking log. So what I'll do is I'll just adjust my focus to the log, and I'm bang on exposure. I'll take the shot, and the beauty about being in here is that the light, it's quite dull light, so that's magic, because I don't have a lot of highlights on the water. I'm just double checking just to make sure I'm not contradicting myself. So there's no highlights on the water, so that diffuses all the light. Because when you take shots of waterfalls in the sun, which I try to avoid, you get all these great big splodges of white and you get no detail in the water at all. So dull days, so if it's raining or if it's really dull, don't not go out. Go out and look for water or look for waterfalls, because those are the best conditions to take shots of waterfalls. Just because with harsh light it's really challenging. Right, so I'm going to turn the camera around to portrait mode now, and let me see. Those ferns, they are moving. I'll just adjust the camera a little bit. So let's focus in. Now, the way I've set up my f-stop, those ferns will be out of focus anyway, so that's okay. Right, what I'm going to do now is, I'm looking for different compositions, so I'm going to go further right and lower down, and then I'm going to shoot up the waterfall and just see what different perspective I get from there. I can go further here to my left and take shots straight up the waterfall. I can go down the river and stand in the middle of the river and shoot up the way, because we've got a kind of natural frame with these two trees. Well, we've got a dead tree and a tree on the left hand side, and that would give me a nice frame to shoot through if I stand in the water right down in the middle. So yeah, there's a lot of photographic opportunities here. It's my favourite. I just love coming off track and finding wee waterfalls like this. They're just glorious, because when you drive past on the road, there's no way you're going to see these. I'll take these photographs, I'll share those images with you now, and then we'll move on. So, Loch Chon has 3 islands. 2 of the islands are unnamed, and 1 of the islands is named. But the island that's named is that medium-sized island which is behind the big island here, and that's called Heron Island. But I can't find out why it's called Heron Island, other than I'm guessing that's where heron birds go, because it won't be fish, because the loch is full of perch, full of pike and full of trout. But you're only allowed to fish for trout between April and October. Any other time you can fish for perch and pike. So what I'll do is, the sun's come out now, I'm still getting a wee spray of water, rain, so what I'll do is I'll look for some shots. I've lost all the stillness in the water now because the breeze has picked up. But what we'll do is we'll try and take some shots, look for something interesting, and I'll catch up with you when I found a composition. Alright, so I've just popped down to the shoreline, and what I've noticed is at the back of the loch, one of the mountains has been lit up quite nicely. My ISO, so I'm shooting at 400th of a second f8 ISO 200, because I'm trying to get that top of that mountain. It looks quite nice for here because it's light green, and there you go, there's the light come back. And hopefully the light will be back for a wee while. But then now the light, now the light's too strong. So I'll just keep looking, and what I'll try and do is pick a few shots, maybe from the island, and well, that's quite nice actually. I can get the island in full view here, just with the zoom lens. Bracket exposure. Oh, there's the trees lit up at the bottom of the loch that I was trying to find earlier on. So that could be quite nice. So if I zoom in, there we go, focus in on those trees, take that shot, that could be quite a nice shot. It's just the fact that the contrast, the dark ground's really black, with the trees being in shadow, and then you've got all those trees in the horizon lit up. That could be quite a nice image. Yep, could be quite a nice image. It could also be my last image. So I think I'm kind of beat by the light now. It's just far too bright. So what I'll do is I'll probably end the video here, and hopefully the shots I took out earlier have come up really well. Hopefully I got here at the right time where we got the water reflections with the still water, and I'd like to think they've come out quite nice. So I'll end the video. Hopefully I can make a video out of this. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because you know it's free. And if you press the bell notification, that will let you know the next time I post a video. So thanks very much for watching, and here's to the next video.